I'm Sidney from Au Fil du Tricot, and today I'm using my tea o'clock pullover to show you how to realize the Kitchener Stitch. The Kitchener Stitch is a great way to finish your knitting whenever you want to close two pieces together, just like the tea o'clock pullover. Here I did the Kitchener Stitch, and as you can see, you don't see where both sides are joining. You can use the Kitchener Stitch whenever you're working a shawl, whenever you're working an infinity cowl, for top to bottom socks when it's time to close for the toes. It's a great way to bind off your stitches. However, it's a difficult technique. There is a few steps that you have to understand. Because this video is rather long, don't forget that you can find every steps that I'm going to show you detailed into the timeline or in the description. This is the tea o'clock pullover. This pullover is worked from one side to the center and from the other side to the other center. So both lace panels are facing each other. But at the end, it means that we have to sew together the two panels, the left side, the left side, and the right side. And to do so, we are going to use the Kitchener stitch. I have already worked the front side, and as you can see here, I use that scrap yarn to hold the stitches. And here, I have already grafted all my stitches from the front side. So I'm ready to work the Kitchener stitch on the back of the tea o'clock pullover. I have the same amount of stitches on the front needle and the back needle, and I'm going to work the Kitchener stitch to create stockinette from the beginning to my marker. The stockinette won't be that much noticeable on the seed stitch. However, for that purl stitch, we are going to try to work the Kitchener stitch over the purl stitch and then go back to a regular Kitchener stitch here. We are going to need at least 3 times the length we are going to work. So that's 1, 2, 3, and we can add a little bit more. I'm going to grab both of my needle, my thread, and we are going to work the step 1 and 2 first, and then repeat from here to the marker the step 3 to 6. Step 1. On the first stitch from the front needle, thread the needle as if to purl and leave the stitch in place. You want to thread the needle from the back to the front. You can leave a little tail so you can weave that in at the end. Step 2. On the first stitch from the back needle, thread the needle as if to knit, so from the front to the back, and leave the stitch in place. When pulling the yarn through, make sure you keep the yarn under both needles so you don't create more stitches. The next 4 steps are the one we are going to keep repeating until we reach the purl stitch marker. In the first stitch of the front needle, we are going to insert the tapestry needle knitwise and remove the stitch. So from the front to the back. Step 4. On the next stitch from the front needle, thread the needle as if to purl, so from the back to the front, and leave the stitch in place. On the first stitch from the back needle, thread the needle as if to purl and remove the stitch. In the next stitch from the back needle, you are going to thread the needle as if to knit, so from the front to the back, and leave the stitch in place. We just finished with the step 6, and now we are going to repeat to keep working the Kitchener stitch by repeating the step 3 to 6. Step 3, on the front needle, insert the tapestry needle through the first stitch as if to knit and slip the stitch of the needle. You want to pull a little bit on the yarn, so all the stitches have the same sizes. However, you can still use a hook to work that afterwards. Step 4, into the next stitch from the front needle, thread the needle as if to purl, leave the stitch in place. In the back needle, the first stitch, thread in as if to purl, remove the stitch. And step 6, on the back needle, the next stitch, thread the needle as if to knit and leave the stitch in place. I have worked already a few stitches in Kitchener Stitch, and we can see that all my stitches the stitches from the Kitchener Stitch do not have the same size as the stitch I knitted while I worked my pieces. So using the hook, I'm going to wiggle the yarn in order to give the stitch I created with the Kitchener stitch the same size as the one knitted, which is going to make my Kitchener stitch much more invisible. I hope this video will help you master the Kitchener stitch. If you have any question, feel free to ask them in the comments. To subscribe to my channel is here, and to see the other videos already made, you can click here. See you soon, bye bye!